Chapter 307. Under Ningxi's dumbfounded expression, the other half of the handcuff was cuffed to Lu Tingxiao's own wrist. Looking at the pink handcuff, Ningxi suddenly became furious and said indignantly, "Lu Tingxiao, you've gone too far. How could you use such a wretched thing?" Lu Tingxiao raised his eyebrows and said faintly, "Are you sure this is mine? If it's not yours, can it be mine?" As soon as Ningxi finished her words, she immediately sensed that something was wrong. To her dismay, she realized that the handcuffs that had suddenly appeared looked more and more familiar to her. Why does it look so much like the handcuff I bought from the Daobao sex toy store for 9.90 yuan to beat Jiang Mui? She didn't remember where she had thrown it. She didn't even remember that she had it when she left just now. She never thought that she would be tricked by herself. She wanted to strangle herself. Now she couldn't escape even if she had wings. They were cuffed together. Where could she run? Lu Tingxiao looked at his wrists that were cuffed to the girl's. He looked at her extremely sullen and vivid expression. As if he was finally sure that she could no longer escape, the ice in his eyes slowly melted into peace. The imperceptible tightness in his heart also gradually loosened. He gently caressed the girl's hair, like a lion preparing to slowly enjoy its prey, unhurriedly. In the end, Ningxi had no choice but to stare at the man in front of her. She made up her mind that if she couldn't escape, she would simply bump into him and knock them both unconscious. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was gradually approaching and was only a few centimeters away, Ningxi gritted her teeth and was about to bump into him. The next second, Lu Tingxiao suddenly fell on the side of her pillow. Ningxi was dumbfounded. She hadn't bumped into him yet. Why did he faint? Because the great demon king had too many tricks up his sleeves, Ningxi didn't dare to act rashly. After a full 3 minutes, there was still no movement around her, and she even heard the sound of steady breathing. Ningxi finally turned her head to look. Then she saw that Lu Tingxiao had actually fallen asleep with his eyes closed. Fallen asleep, she was scared to death. He had actually fallen asleep. At this moment, Ningxi finally dared to look at the man's face carefully. She saw that the man's face was haggard, between his eyebrows was full of fatigue and green shadows. One side of his face and the corner of his mouth were slightly red and swollen, as if he had been slapped. Who dared to hit the great demon king? Without a doubt, it must be the great demon king's father. Previously, he had asked her to push all the blame onto him. She wondered if his father had made things difficult for him after she left. Only now did Ningxi realize that the man's figure had also shrunk quite a bit. Sinful. If she continued to lie down with Lu Tingxiao, it wouldn't be good. In front of this man, her self-control was simply too weak. That was why she had been avoiding him previously. She was afraid that such a situation would occur and that she would not be able to resist softening her heart. Just as Ningxi was burning with anxiety, her door was suddenly pushed open. Then, she saw Lu Jingli appear at the door. "Brother, I have something urgent to talk to you about." Second young master. "Help." Ningxi hurriedly took the opportunity to ask for help. In the next second, there was another bang. Lu Jingli instantly closed the door and disappeared without a trace, as if he had never been there. Chapter 308. Ningxi was speechless. Wasn't it an urgent matter? Why did you run away? Fortunately, she had her phone with her. Ningxi hurriedly dialed Lu Jingli's number. "Bastard. Lu Jingli, where is your integrity? Did all those delicious food go to the dog's stomach? How could you just run away like this? Do you even treat me as a friend?" Ningxi cursed in a low voice. Finally, Lu Jingli retorted weakly, "No. I've always treated you as my sister-in-law. You." Ningxi was furious. "Xiao 1111, it's not that I don't want to help you, but forget it. You can call Dr. Qin and you'll know, Qin Mufeng." He had a good relationship with Lu Tingxiao and knew him very well. Maybe he had a solution? Did Lu Jingli ask her to call Qin Mufeng because he didn't dare to offend his brother? Ningxi hurriedly dialed Qin Mufeng's number. "Hello, Ningxi. What's the matter?" Qin Mufeng sounded a little surprised. He didn't expect Ningxi to call him. It was probably because he had failed to do it for so many years, but it was done by an inexperienced outsider. Qin Mufeng felt quite ashamed, so he didn't communicate much with Ningxi, and the two of them rarely contacted each other. I need your help with something. Can you come to the palace now? What's going on? Well, do you know what happened between me and Lu Tingxiao? I know a little. Lu Tingxiao is a little strange now. Can you come and have a look? Be more specific. She touched her forehead. How could she tell him in this situation? In the end, she briefly told him what had happened. That's what happened. He's handcuffed me now. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, and then Qin Mufeng said, Ningxi, do you really think he will hurt you? Of course she wasn't worried. But she couldn't admit it in front of Qin Mufeng, so she said ambiguously, I don't know. After all, he said something so scary. Qin Mufeng sighed softly. Lu Tingxiao has been telling me to hide something from everyone. Lu Jingli knows, but he guessed it himself. She frowned. What is it? Ever since you rejected him, he has suffered from severe insomnia. He can only sleep for 3 hours a day at most. Ningxi's expression changed. How could this be? Qin Mufeng took a moment to organize his thoughts. According to my experience, it's just too much psychological pressure. Let me put it this way. Lu Tingxiao's nature is definitely not as harmless as you look on the surface. He will do anything to achieve his goals, but he is an exception when it comes to you. In order not to hurt you, he has been suppressing his nature. It's like a person fighting with himself. If he's not careful, he might not be able to control himself and do something irreversible. You can imagine how much pressure he's under. He doesn't even dare to relax for a moment. At this point, Qin Mufeng paused. Whether it's as a doctor or as a friend, I have a presumptuous request. Ningxi, let him sleep for a while. If this goes on, even a man made of iron won't be able to hold on. Don't worry, he won't be able to do anything to you in his current state. Chapter 309. Got it. Ningxi hung up the phone with a wry smile on her face. She shouldn't have called anyone related to Lu Tingxiao. Now she couldn't leave at all. Just as Qin Mufeng expected, Lu Tingxiao slept very soundly. From day to night, Lu Jingli sneaked over to check on him several times. He still had some conscience and brought her food a few times so that she wouldn't starve to death. Lu Tingxiao didn't wake up until the next morning. He was in a daze when he sensed movement beside him. You're awake, because he had just woken up. Lu Tingxiao's eyes weren't focused. When he saw the girl, he gradually became clear-headed and said lightly, why didn't you leave? If she really wanted to leave, this handcuff wouldn't be able to stop her. Ningxi fixed her eyes on the man and then took off a black hair clip from her head. With a click, she unlocked the handcuffs. The man's eyes darkened. But the next second, he was shocked. Ningxi took off her coat and then began to unbutton her shirt one by one. When she was unbuttoning the third button, Lu Tingxiao pressed her hand hard to stop her from continuing. Ningxi looked at him quietly. Lu Tingxiao, I don't know if I've told you before, but I can't stand people being too nice to me and I'm most afraid of owing them. This is the only way I can repay you. Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. Do you think I want to be with you for this? Ningxi, Yeah, Lu Tingxiao could have any woman he wanted and they were all clean. What was she? Lu Tingxiao said, although I do want this. Ningxi was stunned. But do you think one time is enough? I want you for the rest of my life, Lu Tingxiao continued. Damn it. The devil was flirting again. Hearing this, Ningxi couldn't help blushing. Lu Tingxiao didn't have any distracting thoughts in his eyes, only tenderness. He buttoned her shirt for her one by one. Ningxi, answer my question and you can leave. Ningxi, what question? Lu Tingxiao, who is the person you like? Hearing this question, Ningxi immediately revealed a troubled expression. According to the current situation, the most reasonable person was Jiang Mui. However, she had been worried for a long time that Lu Tingxiao would do something to Jiang Mui. Fortunately, Lu Tingxiao didn't. Ningxi's brain was spinning rapidly. If she directly told him that the person she liked was Jiang Mui, what if Lu Tingxiao couldn't restrain himself? Jiang Mui would be in big trouble, wouldn't he? Even if Jiang Mui was the Great Demon King's nephew, he wouldn't be able to withstand a single attack from the Great Demon King. So, who should he blame? At this moment, a person suddenly flashed in her mind. Ningxi deliberated over her words and said, "Actually, the person I mentioned to you before is my last ex-boyfriend, the one I only dated for a day. I said before that although I like him, I can't be with him because his identity is too dangerous, and I'll be a burden to him." Lu Tingxiao narrowed his eyes. "Yes, Yas, you also know that his identity is special, so I'm sorry, I can't tell you too much about him." After Ningxi finished speaking, she nervously waited for Lu Tingxiao's reaction. Chapter 310. After waiting nervously for a long time, Lu Tingxiao suddenly said, "Ningxi, people's tastes change." Ningxi, huh? What did he mean? What did it have to do with people's tastes? Lu Tingxiao, one day, you will find that cabbage tastes better than carrots. Ningxi, can you not say such words that easily cause people to have wild and fanciful thoughts? Lu Tingxiao rubbed the girl's dull little head. Let's go, people who have just woken up usually have a better appetite. Besides, she had just flirted with him, so he had already reached his limit. Ningxi was startled and quickly got off the bed. She was about to leave when Lu Tingxiao stopped her from behind. Wait. Anything else? Ningxi turned around stiffly. Take all your things with you. Lu Tingxiao said. Everything. Ningxi was puzzled. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the huge rows of wardrobes opposite and reminded her. Clothes. Ningxi was in a dilemma. I don't think it's necessary, it's too expensive. These clothes were not expensive luxury brands, but the problem was that she didn't recognize them at all. She had never even heard of them. But it was precisely because she didn't recognize them that it was even scarier. My friend gave them to me if he can't sell them. They are not worth much. If you don't want them, I will ask Uncle Yuan to throw them away. Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi looked pained. It's a pity to throw them away. Besides, they are your friend's sincerity. Actually, these clothes are really nice. Your friend is very talented. He will definitely become famous in the future. At that time, these clothes will increase greatly. Even if you don't use them, you can keep them for your future girlfriend or something. Lu Tingxiao gave her a sidelong glance. Do you think I will give my future girlfriend clothes that I have already given to someone else and was rejected by that person? Okay. But I can't take so many clothes with me. There is not enough space in the apartment. Ningxi was not lying. You don't have to worry about that. I will ask someone to send them over. Ningxi just wanted to leave as soon as possible, so she could only agree hurriedly. Okay then. Oh yes, and my car. I will send them over together. Thank you, Boss Lu. Goodbye, Boss Lu. Finally, they left the villa. Ningxi bent down to catch her breath, and then her phone suddenly rang. She thought it was the crew calling to rush her, but when she saw the caller ID, she was so shocked that she almost threw her phone away. 2 letters flashed on the caller ID, YS. Because she had just taken advantage of this guy, Ningxi inevitably felt guilty when he called her suddenly. It took her a long time to calm down and make sure that her tone would not reveal any flaws before she picked up the phone. Hello, did you do something bad? The hoarse voice on the other end of the phone said faintly. Ningxi, TSK, he really did it. This time, his tone was firm. Ningxi wanted to smash her head on the ground. How did this guy guess it? From the beginning to the end, she had only said one word, hey, right? Darling, I really underestimated your courage. The man's tone was dangerous. Ningxi, why was another one saying she was brave? It seems that if I don't come back soon, you will really dare to make me wear a green hat. Ningxi finally couldn't stand it anymore. When did I make you a cuckold? Bah, that's not right, I have nothing to do with you, how can I make you a cuckold? Chapter 311. Lu Tingxiao, is it? Ningxi's face turned cold when she heard Lu Tingxiao's name. If you dare touch him, I'll kill you. Aren't you worried that he will touch me? He won't. She was at least confident in Lu Tingxiao, but she wasn't so sure about the temperamental guy in front of her. Besides, Lu Tingxiao didn't know who he was. TSK, what an ungrateful little wolf. The man's tone seemed casual, but in fact, Ningxi knew that he was really angry. Ningxi calmed herself down and said, "First, I have nothing to do with you. Second, I have nothing to do with Lu Tingxiao. I told you I won't be with anyone. Honey, the point is, you're in love with him." Damn it. He was thousands of miles away, but why did he seem to know everything? Platinum Palace. After Ningxi left for a while, Lu Jingli finally dared to go over. He carefully leaned against the door frame and asked, "Brother, did you sleep enough? How are you feeling now? Can I tell you what happened?" "Go ahead." Maybe it was because he was lying on Ningxi's bed, Lu Tingxiao's expression was still soft, but he seemed to be thinking about something. "I've found some clues about the force behind the scenes that has been fighting with our subsidiaries. What should we do now?" "Lure the snake into the hole." Ningxi dragged her suitcase back to the apartment, put down her things, and was about to rush to the set when the doorbell rang. Steward Yuan and WN stood at the door respectfully, followed by a row of servants, each holding a piece of clothing carefully. "Miss Xiaoxi, we're here to deliver something," Steward Yuan said respectfully. He had just tricked her, but he acted as if nothing had happened. Sure enough, the older, the wiser. In contrast, WN, who was young and tender, kept her head down and didn't dare to look her in the eyes. Ningxi didn't want to be embarrassed, so she threw the spare key to them and said, "Put it anywhere you want. I'm in a hurry, so I'm leaving." "Yes, Miss Xiaoxi." After Ningxi left, the group of people filed in. Ningxi's cloakroom was completely full after she put her own things in, and there was no way to put so many clothes in. She walked to the dressing table and turned a candlestick on the dressing table. In the next second, accompanied by a cracking sound, the entire wall on the opposite side suddenly opened slowly to both sides. There was a completely different world behind it. It was a huge cloakroom. Steward Yuan raised his hand, and the servants methodically placed the clothes, bags, and accessories in their hands one by one. Film City. After arriving at the set, Ningxi immediately ran to apologize to the director. First, she was late, then she asked for half a day off, and finally she asked for a whole day off. For Ningxi, who valued dedication the most, this was simply unforgivable. Fortunately, Ningxi usually behaved very well. Guo Qisheng was not angry at all. Instead, he comforted her. "Ningxi, you are too nervous. It's good to be dedicated, but don't put yourself under too much pressure. It's normal to have an emergency occasionally. This movie is almost finished, and the progress is so much ahead of schedule, so it's not a big deal. How about this? I'll give you 2 days off tomorrow and the day after. Go shopping, rest, and relax." "Thank you, director." Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. In her current state, she really needed to adjust. After the shooting in the evening, because the director gave her 2 days off, Ningxi didn't go to the hotel, but planned to go back to the apartment for 2 days. Just as she was about to leave, an actress suddenly stopped her. Ningxi, Ning Shui is holding a party in the apartment tonight. Let's go together. I heard that her apartment is very beautiful, especially the cloakroom, which is very luxurious. The clothes and bags in it are all top brand limited edition. It's every woman's dream. Last time, it was even on a magazine. Finally, I have a chance to see it with my own eyes. Chapter 312. Ning Xueluo's cloakroom. Ningxi had heard a lot of people talk about it. It was said that she had collected a lot of out-of-print clothes. She didn't care much about luxury brands. She just wanted to fit into the circle. In fact, the designs of many of the big brand clothes weren't that great. Instead, she often liked to look for creative personal brands. For example, she liked the clothes designed by Lu Tingxiao's friend very much. She felt that they looked much better than those big brand clothes. She remembered that she had casually said that the clothes of this brand looked good, and the next day, her wardrobe was filled with clothes of this brand. "Ningxi, do you want to go?" She invited all the actors in the crew. "She asked me to inform everyone." Ningxi smiled and declined politely. "Sorry, I'm a little tired today. I want to go back and rest early. You guys have fun." The actress, who was immersed in excitement, suddenly remembered that Ningxi and Ning Xueluo had a grudge against each other. She didn't insist and hurriedly said, "Okay, then go back and rest. After returning to the apartment, Ningxi kicked off her shoes and fell asleep. She had barely slept at Lu Tingxiao's place last night, and she had acted all day during the day. She couldn't take it anymore. At the same time, in Ning Xueluo's apartment downstairs, a lively party had just begun. In order to regain her popularity and connections, Ning Xueluo had spent a lot of effort. This time, she had even invited all the actors in the crew to her house. Ning Xueluo's apartment was the largest in the entire Pearl River Imperial View. Half of the space was used as a cloakroom, which was filled with designer clothes. It was indeed every woman's dream. Most of the guests were actresses, and naturally, they were most interested in clothes and bags. Therefore, the first thing they did when they arrived was excitedly ask to see the cloakroom. Xueluo, where's your cloakroom? Show us. Yes. I heard that a lot of out-of-print clothes are priceless and have been hyped to sky-high prices. Of course we have to see them. If we don't see her cloakroom, it'll be a waste of our visit. Ning Xueluo remained calm as she listened to everyone's compliments. It's just that the gossip magazines are exaggerating. It's actually nothing. What gossip magazines? It's the best-selling magazine, Feng Shong. That's right. Xueluo don't hide it anymore. Ning Xueluo had no choice but to compromise. Don't be disappointed when you see it. After that, he led them to the cloakroom. At the end of the corridor, Ning Xueluo opened a door. This is it. The moment the door was pushed open, everyone's faces were filled with amazement. Chanel, Hermès, Donna Karan, Prada, Guess, they're all limited edition worldwide. Oh my God. I feel like I'm in heaven. I can't bear to leave. How envious. Xueluo, you are too lucky. I heard that your boyfriend collected all these for you from all over the world. Looking at the envy and jealousy on everyone's faces, Ning Xueluo's face glowed, and she returned to the high and mighty Starshine Academy's #1 sister. She said humbly, I didn't deliberately collect these, but I didn't know I had so many. After visiting the cloakroom, everyone finally started the party. However, they couldn't forget about the cloakroom and were still discussing it. When the party was about to end, everyone wanted to continue. Many people began to flatter Ning Xueluo after seeing her wealth. At this time, Fang Ya, the actress who played the role of fair concubine, suddenly said, Hey, Ningxi didn't come today? I asked her. She said she was too tired and wanted to go back and rest early, someone answered. Speaking of which, I heard that Shengsha Entertainment arranged a dormitory for Ningxi in Pearl River Royal View. I think it's in Xueluo. Why don't we go and play with her? Fang Ya suggested. But is it appropriate for so many of us to go? Ningxi's place is not as spacious as Xueluo's. Someone said deliberately to please Ning Xueluo. Fang Ya stood up and said to everyone, Who cares? Let's go. It's just upstairs anyway. Chapter 313. When the doorbell rang one after another, Ningxi was sleeping soundly. In a daze, he took out his phone and glanced at it. It was almost midnight. Who would come to see her at this time? It couldn't be that there was something urgent, right? Ningxi had no choice but to get up and open the door. However, as soon as she opened the door, she was stunned. There were dozens of people outside the door, all of whom were the actors of the crew. Standing in front was Ning Xueluo in a gorgeous dress, and the actress who was holding her arm intimately was Fang Ya. Ningxi had just woken up. She was stunned for a few seconds before she realized that Ning Xueluo was having a party at home tonight. So why did these people all come to her house instead of Ning Xueluo's place? At this time, Ning Xueluo said apologetically, Ningxi, were you sleeping just now? I'm sorry to wake you up. We didn't expect you to fall asleep so early. We were having a party tonight, but you didn't come. We miss you very much. We just remembered that you live upstairs, so we came to say hello to you. Before Ningxi could speak, Fang Ya said, Xueluo, Ningxi won't mind. Right, Ningxi. Let's go in. It's not good to block the door. With that, she took the lead and squeezed into the room, and the others followed her. Ningxi stood at the door, the corner of her mouth twitching. Why did she ask her why she came in? Fang Ya was a fence-sitter. After Ningxi signed with Shengsha, She had tried to flatter her several times, but Ningxi felt that she was up to no good, so she ignored her. It seemed that she was trying to flatter Ning Xueluo again. After entering the room, Fang Yue immediately complained in surprise, "Oh, Ningxi, why is your room so small? We can't even stand here." Ningxi's room was not small. It was the most suitable size for living, but there were too many of them, so the whole living room was almost full as soon as they came in. As soon as she said that, Fang Yue walked directly to the cloakroom without the owner's consent. She pushed the door open and then looked shocked. "Ningxi, is this your cloakroom? It's so small." Fang Yue took the lead to speak, and the others who tried to flatter Ning Xueluo also echoed. "Yeah, it's so small. The living room and bedroom are fine, but for artists like us, the most important thing is the cloakroom. It's definitely not enough. I thought Shengsha Entertainment was rich, but it's just SOSO. It's barely enough." "Aya, you guys can't say that. Do you think that everyone can be like Shui Luo's family?" Ning Xueluo looked at the crowd pointing at Ningxi's residence comfortably and kindly said, "The place where Ningxi lives has a good view. What's the use of beautiful scenery? We don't usually stay at home." Fang Yue said as she turned over Ningxi's clothes hanging outside, and then said sympathetically, "Oh my god. He didn't even have a decent piece of clothing. Was this Chanel from last year? And this Prada, it's already outdated. Ningxi, I don't mean to criticize you, but you really don't care about these things. No matter how good your acting skills are, in the entertainment circle, acting skills are secondary. The most important thing is the packaging." Ningxi stood at the door of the cloakroom for a long time, and finally understood why these people suddenly came to her room tonight. Did they come to make trouble for her and make fun of her? Chapter 314. Xiao Yue is right. Even if I don't eat, I still have to buy clothes. Because it's so important. If the media photographed me wearing last year's clothes, it would be so embarrassing. That's what I said. Hearing this, Fang Yue raised her head proudly and said to Ning Xueluo deliberately, "Xueluo, you have so many clothes at home. Why don't you give Ningxi some? Any one of them must be better than these." Ningxi's face darkened. "No need. Oh, Ningxi, don't refuse. We're in the same group and we should help each other. Don't tell me you still mind the misunderstanding between you and Xueluo. Xueluo just told us that she doesn't mind it at all." Hearing Fang Yue's strange words, Ningxi was speechless. It was really painful to argue with a fool. Seeing that Ningxi didn't speak, Fang Yue became even more smug. Yuan is still upstairs. Xueluo, tell her where it is and ask her to bring it here." "Okay." Ning Xueluo nodded and called her immediately. In less than 3 minutes, the actress called Yuan came over breathlessly with a pile of clothes in her arms. "Sister Xueluo, here are the clothes you asked for." Ning Xueluo looked at the clothes with satisfaction and said sincerely and concernedly, "Ningxi, just take them. Although they are not very good, they are the latest style of this year." Fang Yue's eyes widened and she said excitedly, "What do you mean not very good? Each of these clothes costs tens of thousands of yuan. Ningxi's salary for the whole play can only buy one piece of clothes." "Yes. These clothes are so expensive. Xueluo, you are so generous. Ningxi, just take them. Don't force yourself." Ningxi pinched between her eyebrows and her patience began to run out. She just wanted to come back and have a good rest. She didn't expect that she would be attacked by Ning Xueluo and a group of idiots. She might as well stay in the hotel and not come back. "Ningxi, don't be so polite. Come on, let me help you put them in the wardrobe. Such good clothes can't be dirted by dust." Fang Yue said and directly opened the door of the wardrobe, completely ignoring Ningxi's will and privacy. Just as he was about to put the clothes in, he froze in the next second. At the same time, the people behind them were also stunned. There was an evening dress hanging quietly in the middle of the wardrobe. The whole dress was as dreamy as the aurora borealis, full of pearls and jewels. It was full of inlaid gems like the stars in the universe, especially the huge ruby on the neckline in the middle. It was dazzling and blinding, even Ningxi herself was stunned. Wasn't this the brand of clothes that Lu Tingxiao had given her before? Today, before she left, She directly asked Steward Yuan and WNWN to move the clothes into the wardrobe. She was just wondering where all the clothes went. She didn't expect to see her favorite set of clothes in the wardrobe. Could it be that Wanwan and the others saw that she really couldn't fit so many things here, so they only kept her favorite one? The more Ningxi thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. Looking at the shocked expressions on everyone's faces, she was not surprised. When she saw it for the first time, she also cried because she thought it was priceless. Later, after Lu Tingxiao explained for a long time, she knew that it was just the first version of a mold, and the materials on it were all cheap substitutes. But even so, she still thought it was beautiful enough. Chapter 3:15. It took them a long time to come to their senses. Fang Ya, holding a few pieces of clothes, froze in the middle of opening the wardrobe door, and murmured in astonishment, "How could it be? It's impossible." The others also looked at each other in astonishment. Liar! Liar! How could Ningxi have such expensive clothes? Are you kidding me? This kind of clothes looks very expensive. It may cost millions. It's so beautiful. If I could wear it once, I would die without regret. A little girl couldn't help saying. At this time, Fang Ya casually pulled at the clothes and looked disgusted. Haha, it does look beautiful at first glance, but if you look carefully, don't you think it's very vulgar? The actress who had invited Ningxi murmured, "No way, it looks really expensive. Is there such clothes on Daobao?" Fang Ya rolled her eyes at her, then looked at Ning Shualuo beside her and deliberately asked, "Shualuo, can you recognize the brand of this dress?" Ning Shualuo pondered and then shook her head. "I've never seen it before. It seems that no luxury brand has this style." Fang Ya immediately looked proud. Shualuo knows all the limited editions of major brands like the back of her hand, and she has collected all of them. Even she has never seen it before. What else can it be if it's not a cheap brand? In order to show that they were knowledgeable, the others also echoed Fang Ya's words. "This lace looks really old-fashioned, and the gems inlaid on it look so cheap. It must be made of glass." Fang Ya looked at Ningxi disdainfully. "Ningxi, it's okay if it's an outdated style, but it's a famous brand. How could you wear such a cheap brand? I'm willing to bet that this dress is definitely not more than 200 yuan. After saying that, Fang Ya threw the clothes on the ground. Seeing the clothes thrown on the ground, Ningxi's face instantly turned cold. She didn't care about the other clothes being turned over by Fang Ya and quietly watched her show off, but this one from Lu Tingxiao instantly ignited her anger. Ningxi immediately walked over and bent down to pick up the clothes. She carefully patted the dust off and shot a cold glare at Fang Ya. Fang Ya didn't know what was going on. It was just a look from the other party, but she felt a chill in her heart, as if being stared at by something terrible. She staggered a step back and then laughed at her. "Ningxi, don't be so dramatic. Why are you so nervous about a 200 yuan street stall item?" Seeing that Ningxi's expression finally changed, Ning Shualuo's mood became cheerful again. She glared at Fang Ya and said, "Ya, don't say that. This dress looks good at first glance. Ningxi must like it very much. It's inevitable that she is nervous. You don't like so many high-end big-name brands, but this kind of trash. Even if you're crazy poor, you can't have such low taste." After sensing Ning Shualuo's closeness, Fang Ya became even more fearless. Her words were almost unscrupulous. Just then, someone in the crowd suddenly walked up to Ningxi. "Wait, this dress. Why does it look so familiar?" The person who spoke was Guan Xiaoqi, the actress who had replaced Zhou Qingqing as the third female lead. She was in the same company as Ningxi. Because she had just joined the crew, Ningxi only occasionally met her once or twice, and they could be regarded as acquaintances. Chapter 3:16. After Guan Xiaoqi finished speaking, he leaned over and carefully looked at the clothes. Fang Ya said disdainfully, "It's just a shabby dress. What's so special about it?" Guan Xiaoqi ignored Fang Ya and stared at it for quite a while. Then he looked at the extremely low-key and simple sign GE on the collar and then looked up at Ningxi solemnly, saying, "If I'm not mistaken, this dress was designed by Gabriel Elvis, who is known as a genius designer. When Joshua Arson wore it at the Oscars award party, the dress he designed became an instant hit. Later, everyone in the entertainment circle was proud to own a dress designed by Elvis. This dress should be donated by Elvis at a charity auction 5 years ago. It's his proudest work, and it was sold at a sky-high price at that time. Ningxi, I'm right. What? Guan Xiaoqi suddenly blurted out such a long story, but Ningxi didn't understand a word. Fang Yue was stunned at first, and then she burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha. That's hilarious. How could a dress that was sold at a sky-high price appear here? Guan Xiaoqi, you can't tell such a lie just because you're in the same company as Ningxi. Ha ha. Guan Xiaoqi is really bold. Who's that Elvis she's talking about? I've never heard of him. She must be making it up. The others didn't believe her. Someone asked Guan Xiaoqi how to spell the designer's name, and then searched the internet. In the end, he didn't expect to find this piece of clothing. It's true. This designer is very awesome, but he disappeared suddenly in the middle, so few of us know about him. And look at this picture in the introduction. The dress in the picture is exactly the same as Ningxi's dress. Fang Yue glanced at it out of the corner of her eye, and then she said carelessly, it must be an imitation. That's right. This dress has been in a private collection. How could it be here? It's impossible. It's the same one. I can't be wrong. Guan Xiaoqi sounded very sure and confident, and he looked at Ningxi for confirmation. However, Ningxi was also completely confused and couldn't answer her. Wasn't this just a worthless mold? Fang Yue laughed hysterically. This is so funny. If this is real, I will crawl out of here today. You said it yourself. Guan Xiaoqi snorted, then turned to the crowd and said, actually, it's very easy to prove its authenticity. The biggest feature of Elvis design is the embellishment of jewels, and every jewel on this dress is real. If you don't believe me, you can come and identify it for yourself. Oh, right, don't pretend to know. Guan Xiaoqi, who are you accusing of pretending to know something? Fang Yue's face turned red with anger. Let's talk about whoever answered. As long as they were knowledgeable, they would definitely be interested in this piece of clothing. Therefore, after hearing Guan Xiaoqi's words, someone finally stood up. Why don't I take a look? A quiet girl walked over from behind. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw her. Yes, yes. Feifei, look. You know best. Feifei is a special grade jewelry appraiser. I was almost tricked last time, and she was the one who identified it for me. Since Feifei is here, it's definitely not a problem. Fang Yue didn't have any objections. She looked at Guan Xiaoqi and Ningxi gloatingly. Now someone knows. Let's see how you can pretend. Chapter 317. The girl named Feifei looked at the jewels solemnly. As there were too many star fragments embedded in the clothes, Feifei took a long time to identify them. As time passed, everyone held their breath and stared, including Ningxi, who was still confused. She wanted to tell the truth, but it was too late. Feifei had already focused on identifying the jewels. If she spoke now, it would make people feel that she was at death's door and had no choice but to shut her mouth. After a long while, Feifei finally took a deep breath and raised her head. I'm sorry, everyone. There are too many broken gems embedded in the clothes. I can't guarantee that I can identify every single one of them. I can only try my best to look at them all. What I've seen so far is all real. As soon as she said that, Ning Shui was the first to change her expression. Everyone was also dumbfounded. No. It can't be. How is that possible? But everyone knows Feifei's skills. Her words can't be wrong. This, Fang Yue, who was waiting for Ningxi to make a fool of herself, turned red. Feifei. You must be mistaken. How could it be real? It's obviously glass. The others naturally did not believe it either. Feifei, take a closer look. These gems look really cheap. Yeah, take a closer look. Although we definitely believe in your professionalism, it's really impossible. In the face of everyone's doubts, Feifei blinked and said with certainty, if it was only one, I could still make a mistake. There are so many of them, I can't be wrong about every single one, right? These gems are all real. Since Feifei had already said that, They had to believe it no matter how much they did not want to believe it. For a moment, everyone was speechless, especially the people who had just followed Fang Ya and said that the gems were fake goods. At this moment, they even hid in the corner and did not say a word. As for Ningxi, as the owner of the clothes, she was the most shocked one. Every one of them are all real? Didn't they say that it was a gift from a friend and not worth much? Lu Tingxiao actually lied to her. And she actually believed it. At this time, Guan Xiaoqi looked at Fang Ya and sneered, "Haha, I remember someone just said that if this dress is real, I'll crawl out of here today." Fang Ya's face stiffened. She gritted her teeth and said, "So what if it's true? This gown must have been rented by the company for Ningxi. It's not her own. What's so great about it?" Hearing Fang Ya's words, one of the people who had been silent immediately echoed in a low voice. "It's a fact that Ningxi's clothes are of low quality. That's right, we helped her out of kindness because we couldn't stand it anymore." Fang Ya stuffed the clothes in her hand into Ningxi's arms and said earnestly, "So, Ningxi, you'd better take these clothes. No matter how expensive that gown is, you can only look at it. You might not even be able to wear it on the occasion. Generally, this kind of gown could only be worn to receive awards and attend important events." Fang Ya was obviously cursing her to never have a chance to be famous. Ning Shualuo seemed to be afraid that she would be too embarrassed to take it, so she said considerately, "Ningxi, just take it. After all, the misunderstanding last time was caused by my assistant. These are my gifts to you as an apology." Chapter 318. Ningxi, since Shueluo has said so, don't let her down. Don't tell me you think that Shueluo doesn't like the cheap stuff she gave you. You can just casually check and you will know that these clothes are really quite expensive. They are much better than your old clothes. Where else can you find such a good thing? Quickly accept it. Ningxi had a serious lack of sleep. In addition, she had been chattering all night. She was almost at her limit. She could barely keep her eyes open. She just wanted to end this farce as soon as possible. Just as he was about to say anything to get them to leave, a girl leaning against the dressing table in the corner suddenly exclaimed. Ningxi's nerves tightened. "What now? Ningxi, how can this thing move? You scared me to death." The girl looked at the decorative candlestick behind her back, which suddenly turned under the pressure. In the next second, everyone heard a strange crack, crack, crack sound. Just as everyone was wondering where the sound came from, one of the walls of the cloakroom slowly opened up to both sides, and bright white light flowed through the gap little by little. The scene was like a slow-motion movie. A moment later, the two walls finally opened completely. After seeing the whole picture inside, the air was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air, and then there was a long silence. No one present said anything. Everyone stared blankly at the wall. He stared blankly at the magnificent cloakroom behind the wall. The top of the cloakroom was decorated with glittering crystal lamps, and it was filled with gorgeous gowns. It was so dazzling that people could hardly open their eyes. Fang Ya didn't hold the pile of clothes for Ningxi firmly and they all fell to the ground. Because she was too shocked, she opened her mouth but couldn't say a word. Everyone's reaction was about the same. It was only after a long time that everyone came back to their senses. "Am I dreaming? Ningxi, you actually have a secret compartment in your house. Fuck. My eyes were almost blinded by the light. This cloakroom is too big and luxurious. Ningxi, you're so mean. Why don't you open your cloakroom and let us have a look? Ningxi. She should know there was such a thing first, right?" Now, she finally knew where the pile of clothes had gone to. If it weren't for today's accident, she probably wouldn't have known there was such a big secret compartment in her house. Ningxi touched her forehead and didn't know what to say to Lu Tingxiao. How on earth did that guy lie to her in such an academic, authoritative, and trustworthy tone? The crowd observed the style of the dresses and was surprised to find that all the dresses seemed to be made by the same designer as the one in the wardrobe, which was Gabrielle Elvis. Many people couldn't help but sneak a peek at the labels on the clothes. Sure enough, after taking a look at a few of them, all of them had the initials GE. This was no longer a matter of money. GE's designers had suddenly disappeared not long after their debut. The works they left behind were very limited. Even if you had the money, you might not be able to get them. Now, this room was full of shock. Chapter 319. After the initial shock, someone was obviously unwilling to give up and secretly went to ask Feifei, "Feifei, are the things in there all authentic?" Feifei was also surprised for a long time. Hearing this, she nodded and said, "I took a look. They are all real." Anyone who knows a little about jewelry knows that the unique light of real jewelry is different from that of fake ones. Oh my god. That's scary. Did Golden Era prepare this for Ningxi? Golden Era is too rich. It's already amazing enough that the dormitory has the best location in the Pearl River Royal View, but this cloakroom is bigger than someone else's house. They're really trying to make Ningxi happy. Everyone present had a tacit understanding as to who this others was referring to. Some of them could not stand Ning Xueluo. They had been suppressing their anger for a long time, and they began to whisper among themselves. The point is, Ningxi's extravagance is classy and classy. All of them are from legendary brands like GE. Unlike Ning Xueluo's cloakroom, it's like the vault of a nouveau riche, stuffing whatever brand is into it. She just wanted to give her clothes to Ningxi with a look of charity. How could Ningxi want it? I think she wanted to humiliate Ningxi at first, but TSK, there's no harm without comparison. Ning Xueluo didn't expect that she would see the huge cloakroom the next second when she heard what Ningxi had said to take the clothes. At this moment, she stood stiffly in front of Ningxi's cloakroom, listening to those low whispers. Her livid face was burning hot, as if she had been slapped heavily in the face. Damn it. It's all that Fang Ye's fault. Why did she have to bring it up to Ningxi? If she had not come here at the last minute, her plan would have been perfect. Now, everything had been messed up. She had just managed to salvage a little of her image, but it was ruined again. Fang Ye did not expect her flattery to backfire. She looked at Ningxi angrily and scolded, "Why didn't you say so earlier if you don't need clothes? You think it's fun to watch us run around in circles? What a dog that bites Lu Dongbin, not appreciating my kindness." Ningxi crossed her arms and leaned against the door frame. She raised her eyebrows. "Are you sure I didn't tell you earlier? It's just that someone doesn't seem to understand human language." "You." Fang Ye choked and couldn't say a word. She could only murmur bitterly, "No matter how much, it doesn't belong to you." Ning Xueluo took a few deep breaths to calm herself down and said with a generous expression, "Forget it, Ya. We're just helping Ningxi, not asking for anything in return. It's best if she has enough clothes. Ningxi, if you need anything in the future, just let me know." In other words, the company might support her now, but it might not always support her in the future. Xiao Qi was the only one who was calm about the sudden appearance of the cloakroom. He was only surprised for a moment, but he soon recovered and looked at Ning Xueluo, Fang Ye, and the others as if they were clowns. "Sigh, I didn't come here for nothing." He had watched a good show. "I'm so tired tilde, I'm going home to sleep tilde." After saying that, he skipped away. As soon as Guan Xiaoqi left, everyone began to leave, especially those who had mocked and belittled Ningxi in order to please Ning Xueluo. Finally, everyone left. Ningxi looked thoughtfully at Guan Xiaoqi's back as he left. She was too sleepy to think too much. In the end, she almost climbed onto the bed and fell asleep as soon as her head touched the pillow. Chapter 320. Late at night, Ning Xueluo's apartment. Chang Li rushed over in the middle of the night and saw a mess of clothes on the floor. "My dear lady, who pissed you off this time?" Ning Xueluo twisted a pile of clothes with a pair of scissors and scolded, "Who else?" Chang Li had already learned the details from her assistant. She packed up helplessly and said, "Xueluo, you were really too impulsive this time. You've been holding back for so long. Why did you provoke her for no reason? Haven't I held back long enough? In this situation tonight, I thought it would be foolproof." "Who knew?" Chang Li softened her tone. "I understand how you feel, but there's no point in being angry now. You don't need to do anything to Ningxi. Someone will deal with her." Ning Xueluo immediately looked at her. "Who are you talking about?" Chang Li sneered and reminded her, "Don't forget that Su Yimo is in Shengsha Entertainment. Do you think Su Yimo will let her off the hook now that Ningxi is in the limelight? Even a big shot like Leng Manyun was completely suppressed by her back then. What does Ningxi count as? Ning Xueluo's eyes lit up. Su Yimo, why didn't I think of that? That's right. Su Yimo has an ambiguous relationship with the senior management of Lu Enterprises. Her background is incomparable. Think about it, with her arrogant personality, how could she tolerate someone like Ningxi who can shake her position? What happened tonight will definitely reach her ears soon. What do you think she will think when that time comes? Ning Xueluo pondered for a while before a smile appeared on her face. You're right. Chang Li breathed a sigh of relief when she finally persuaded Ning Xueluo. She continued to analyze. Now we can totally build a relationship with Su Yimo. Although you've always been enemies with her, it's different now. The enemy of your enemy is your friend. Don't worry, I'll ask her later. There won't be any big problems. Ning Xueluo threw away the scissors and clothes in her hand, got up and paced back and forth. Then she stood still and said, I heard that she likes jade. Someone gave my father a pair of top-grade jade ornaments. Give it to her. Let me know if you need anything. I'll think of a way. All right, no problem. Chang Li immediately agreed and then asked, by the way, have you considered the proposal I told you last time? Are you talking about the engagement? That's right. You've kept a low profile for too long. You definitely need a very talkative event to restore your popularity and image. Everyone has always been envious of you because of Su Yang. This is the best time to get engaged. By then, all the headlines will be about you. I've already come up with a series of follow-up plans. Not only can we help you raise your popularity to a new height, but we can also ruthlessly trample on Ningxi, Chang Li said with some excitement. At the mention of Su Yang, Ning Xueluo frowned slightly. You know, because of what happened last time, Su Yang is very unhappy with me. I need some time, and he's been too busy recently. It's okay. There's no rush. Work is more important. Your Su Yang is really amazing. If this big deal goes through, the Su family will enter the European market, and the group's profits will double. Recently, he's been all over the financial channels and magazines. Ning Xueluo's face was glowing as she proudly raised her eyebrows. Of course, don't you know whose man he is? Don't worry, I'll take care of the engagement. Chang Li, that's good. Then let's split up. Chapter 321. The next morning. Because she didn't have to work, Ningxi woke up naturally. Recalling what happened last night, she almost thought she had a dream. Until she walked to the walk-in closet in slippers, she didn't close the secret compartment last night. Now it was opened and caught her by surprise. Ningxi, it wasn't a dream, she had accepted it because she thought it was worthless. What should she do now? And the walk-in closet. Ningxi was having a headache when her cell phone rang. It was Lin Jiji. Hello, Sister Jiji. You're off today. Are you free now? Come to the company if you're free. It's okay. I'll be right there. Ningxi immediately packed up and rushed to the company. At the same time, in Lin Jiji's office at Shengsha Entertainment. Fuck. Why do I lose everything recently? Lying on the sofa opposite the desk, Jiang Mui angrily threw away the game console in his hand. Where is Ningxi? When will she come? Lin Jiji buried herself in a pile of documents and answered without looking up, she's on her way. Jiang Mui sat up, squinted his eyes, and looked thoughtfully at the woman who had been calm from beginning to end in front of the desk. He didn't know why, but a very unpleasant feeling welled up in his heart. Lin Jiji. There's no one else here. Why do you pretend not to know me? Lin Jiji glanced at him out of the corner of her eye and ignored him. Seeing her attitude, Jiang Mui was even angrier. He sneered. Tut, tut, what did you say to Ningxi last time? It's just a simple relationship between an artist and a former agent. You're so good at acting, why don't you just become an actor? Lin Jiji finally raised her head and looked at him. She replied unhurriedly, isn't it? Jiang Mui was about to speak when Lin Jiji asked, or do you want me to tell Ningxi another truth? Jiang Mui's face turned red and he stood up immediately. Outside the door, there was a knock on the door. Jiang Mui could only shut up immediately. He got up to open the door and complained to the person outside, "You're so slow. I've already died a dozen times." She had a look of disdain on her face. "Are you sure that the fact that you died more than a dozen times is directly related to how fast I came? Cut the crap and get down to business. Once we're done, I still have to go back and sign for my newest equipment. You only know how to play. I think you should just marry your game console in the future." She rolled her eyes at him. After entering, she greeted Lin Jiji sweetly, "Sister Jiji, I'm here." Jiang Mui was speechless at the speed with which he changed his attitude. Seeing Lin Jiji's expression softened. "Have a seat. I called you here today to tell you a piece of good news." "Good news? What good news?" She immediately pricked up her ears. "I just helped you get an endorsement." Ningxi's face lit up with excitement. "Really? Can I also accept endorsements?" "I haven't even been in a movie yet," Lin Jiji explained. "You're popular enough, but most companies are still waiting to see what you can do. It's a coincidence this time. Not long after the news about you and Jiang Mui playing games through the night was released, the game company started to contact me and approached me. I just came to an agreement yesterday." Chapter 322. She didn't expect to get her first endorsement in this way. She was surprised. "What the? You can do that?" Jiang Mui snorted proudly. "Why not? Thank me. It's all thanks to me." Yes, it's all thanks to you this time." Lin Jiji went on with the details. "The game company wants to sign you and Jiang Mui at the same time. You are a newcomer, so the endorsement fee is not high. 1 million yuan. You will get about 300,000 yuan in the end." 300,000 yuan. So much. She hadn't paid attention to her share in the contract because newcomers usually got 20% and 80%. Now it seemed that she could still get 300,000 yuan after deducting the share and tax, so her share was at least 40% and 60%, which was a very good deal. Sure enough, the devil would never cheat her. Jiang Mui snorted and looked at her contemptuously. "Useless. You are so happy for 300,000 yuan. How much do you get?" She asked curiously. "Not much, 3 million yuan. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have accepted such a small endorsement." She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. "Damn it. If you don't stop, I'll beat you up." Lin Jiji handed the contract to the two of them. "This is the only thing I want to talk to you about. This is the contract. Take a look and sign it if there's no problem." Jiang Mui didn't even look at it before he signed his name. She glanced at it quickly and signed her name too. Lin Jiji looked at the contract and nodded. "Okay, you can go now. I'll handle the rest. Since both of you accepted the same endorsement this time, I discussed it with Brother Ming and decided that I'll be in charge of this endorsement. When the time comes, I'll arrange the follow-up matters for you." "Okay, got it, Sister Jiji, got it." After leaving the office, Jiang Mui wanted to say something but hesitated. Finally, he asked, "Did something happen when you suddenly asked for leave that day?" "Well, something happened. But it's nothing. Anyway, I'm fine now. It's about Lu Tingxiao again." Jiang Mui curled his lips. "Even my mother heard about it." She was stunned. "Ah, your mother? What did she hear?" "She said that my grandmother, Lu Tingxiao's mother, went to talk to her about setting up a blind date for Lu Tingxiao. She seems to be very picky lately. My mother has pushed everything away and is accompanying the old lady to pick a wife all day long." "Oh," Jiang Mui stared at her. "Oh, that's it." She glanced at him. "What else can I do? Are you a dog in the manger?" Jiang Mui was speechless. As the two of them were talking, someone on the other side suddenly called out enthusiastically, "Little Yi." Ningxi and Jiang Mui looked up at the same time and saw two women walking toward them. One of them was Zhao Meishan, a woman named Jiang Mui, who was gorgeously dressed. She was wearing the latest lavender dress in Chanel's autumn-winter collection, looking noble and elegant. There was a trace of arrogance between her eyebrows. Su Yimo, Ning Shi naturally recognized this face that everyone in the country knew at a glance. Speaking of which, it was her first time meeting Golden Era ever since she signed with Golden Era. Xiao Yi, I haven't seen you in a long time. Are you here to discuss something? Su Yimo asked with concern, like an elder. Chapter 323. The corner of Jiang Mui's mouth twitched slightly as he replied casually, The entertainment industry was a place where seniority mattered a lot. After all, Su Yimo was a senior. Since Ning Shi saw her, she had to greet her, so she said, "Hello, senior." However, Su Yimo acted as if she didn't see her and didn't even glance at her. She continued to look at Jiang Mui. "Little Yi, I heard you got a game endorsement." Ning Shi just did what she had to do. Since Su Yimo was like this, she naturally didn't step forward. "Jiang Mui, what's wrong?" Su Yimo frowned. "Why do you suddenly want to endorse a game?" "Jiang Mui, I just want to bring my junior sister along." Hearing this, Su Yimo's face turned serious. "Little Yi, I don't know what your manager is thinking, but with your current status, if you accept this kind of endorsement and partner with this kind of person, it will affect your image too much. I hope you can reconsider." Hearing this, Jiang Mui finally couldn't take it anymore. He put on a fake smile and said, "Haha, Miss Su, aren't you being too nosy? Also, next time, please call me Jiang Mui." Su Yimo couldn't take it anymore. "Little Yi, I know you don't like people to control you, but I'm doing this for your own good." Seeing the awkward atmosphere, Zhao Meishin hurriedly said, "Yimo has the most right to speak on these matters. Our Yimo just got the main endorsement for Chanel in China, and we're about to start discussing the renewal of Lu Group's endorsement contract. Sigh, I've been too busy recently. Little Yi, I'm experienced. I think you should listen to me on this matter. I'm leaving, talk to you when I have time." With that, Su Yimo continued to ignore Ning Shi. She nodded slightly to Jiang Mui and walked away in a very noble and elegant manner. As soon as the two of them left, Jiang Mui immediately exploded. "Damn it! Who are you calling Little Yi? Who are you calling Little Yi? Who are you to call Little Yi? You actually dare to interfere with this daddy's business? Does she really think she's my aunt? If she hadn't saved Xiaobao's life, I would have fallen out with her long ago. Ning Xiaoxi, bite her to death." Ning Shi was speechless. "Please don't sound like you're letting the dogs out, okay?" Jiang Mui began to complain incessantly. "Ning Shi, you don't know that my uncle didn't mention to Su Yimo that she saved Xiaobao at all. He just said something casually and ordered people to praise her. But in the end, she had such a high opinion of herself, thinking that my uncle was deeply in love with her and was silently helping her behind the scenes, to the point where she was almost regarding herself as Mrs. Lu. Every time she speaks to me in that tone, it really disgusts me to death." Ning Shi glanced in the direction Su Yimo had left. "I won't offend anyone who doesn't offend me. However, looking at Su Yimo's attitude, it's impossible for us to live in harmony. Even if you didn't say it, we would have to fight sooner or later." Jiang Mui said, "Don't be a coward. Just do it. Big brother is your most solid support. I'd rather you be my first aunt than have her be my first aunt." Ning Shi. "Thank you so much." In the nanny car, Zhao Meishin carefully took out a beautifully wrapped gift box from the back seat. "Yimo, this was sent by Ning Xueluo's agent this morning. Because of what happened last time, Ning Xueluo and Ning Shi are at loggerheads. Now she suddenly shows goodwill to us. I'm afraid she wants to cooperate with us." Chapter 324. Su Yimo lifted the lid of the gift box with one finger, glanced at it and said disdainfully, "Does she deserve to work with me? She had the support and protection of such a distinguished man, so she didn't need to work with anyone." Zhao Meishin knew what she was thinking, so she swallowed and said, "You can't say that. What's important isn't Ning Xueluo, but the power behind her. She has the Ning family behind her, and her boyfriend is Su Yang, so she can't be underestimated. You know, the Su family has been in the limelight in the capital recently, and there are a lot of people trying to curry favor with them. Now that she has such a good opportunity, it's not a big deal to do her a favor. Although everyone in the industry thought that Su Yimo had an ambiguous relationship with the senior management of Lu Holdings, Zhao Meishan had never seen Su Yimo contact the senior management of Lu Holdings in private. Therefore, Zhao Meishan was actually very uneasy, but she never dared to mention it in front of Su Yimo. If she did, she would definitely be scolded. Su Yimo couldn't tolerate anyone doubting her relationship with Lu Tingxiao. Su Yimo's expression wavered when she heard about the Ning family and the Su family. Zhao Meishan said, "By the way, Yimo, did you hear about what happened last night?" "What happened?" Su Yimo asked. Zhao Meishan immediately whispered into her ear, "Last night, Ning Shuiluo was having a party at home, and Ning Shi happened to be living above her, so Ning Shuiluo probably brought her men up to trample on her." But Zhao Meishan told her the whole story vividly, and then exclaimed, "What a huge walk-in closet. And all the clothes are from GE." There was something else that Zhao Meishan didn't dare to say. In Golden Era, even Su Yimo didn't get such treatment. Su Yimo frowned. "GE? Yeah, the clothes designed by Gabrielle Elvis. Don't you like them too? Didn't you want to wear this brand at the opening ceremony last time?" But I didn't get it," Zhao Meishan said weakly. Back then, she had finally found one, but someone had intercepted it and bought it at a high price. Su Yimo had even scolded her, so she had a deep impression of it. Hearing this, Su Yimo, who wouldn't allow anyone to surpass her in any aspect, instantly changed her expression. She frowned and said coldly, "He's just a pawn that Golden Era used to annoy Starlight. He's only in the limelight for a while. What can he do? However, it's not a big deal to have another friend. I'll leave Ning Shuiluo to you." "All right, leave it to me." The Lu family's old residence. As usual, Xiaobao was lying on the windowsill in a daze. After looking out of the window for a while, the little girl took out her mobile phone and sent a message to her papa. He missed Aunt Xiaoxi. Although they had just met not too long ago. In the CEO's office of Lu Group, the man picked up his phone and glanced at it with a gentle gaze. Then, he typed a few words on his phone and replied to his son, "I miss her too." Xiaobao quickly replied with another question mark. She meant to ask him how he could meet Aunt Xiaoxi. Lu Tingxiao looked out the window and pondered for a moment. Then, he lowered his head and began to reply to his son's message. A moment later, Xiaobao finished reading the message and climbed down from the chair. He then ran towards the living room. In the living room, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui were talking. When she saw Xiaobao, she immediately put away the photos and information of the socialites on the coffee table and smiled at her good grandson. Chapter 325. Xiaobao, quickly come to Grandma's side. What's wrong? Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? Grandpa will ask the kitchen to cook for you. The two old men's voices were gentle and kind, for fear of scaring Xiaobao. Xiaobao could only live alone and couldn't be in the same space with them. Now he could live with them, which was a great happiness for them. Xiaobao shook his head, took off his shoes, climbed onto the sofa, and began to massage Grandma's shoulders. Yang Rui was flattered. "Oh, Grandma's sweetheart. Are you massaging Grandma's shoulders?" Xiaobao nodded and massaged even harder. Lu Chongshan's face was filled with jealousy as he muttered, "Looks like Xiaobao likes Grandma more." Was it because he was usually too strict with her? It seemed so, especially his attitude towards that woman was really bad. If Xiaobao saw this, would she hate him? What should he do? The more Lu Chongshan thought about it, the more worried and angry he became. He did it for Xiaobao and for the family. But he was the bad guy. Everyone blamed him, and most importantly, even Xiaobao didn't like him anymore. Lu Chongshan was in a low mood. After massaging Grandma, Xiaobao immediately moved to Grandpa's side and began to massage Grandpa's shoulders. His soft little hands really melted people's hearts. Lu Chongshan was a tough man, but his eyes almost turned red on the spot. Good, good. Xiaobao's kindness is enough. Don't tire yourself out. Lu Chongshan was silent for a while and finally couldn't bear it, so he sighed and asked, "Xiaobao, do you have something to ask Grandpa?" Xiaobao nodded honestly. Lu Chongshan asked again, "Do you want to see Aunt Xiaoxi?" Xiaobao nodded hard and looked at Grandpa expectantly and uneasily. His little eyes softened Lu Chongshan's heart. Okay, Grandpa promises you. I'll ask someone to invite her to our house later, okay? Xiao Bao's eyes immediately lit up. He happily kissed Grandpa's cheek and then ran back to his room with satisfaction. Yang Rui looked at her husband, who was smiling like a fool, speechless. Who was the one who kept saying that I had no principles and no bottom line? Now what about your principles? Where's your bottom line? Your grandson massaged your shoulders, and it's all gone. In order to trick your grandson into giving you a kiss, you agreed to everything, right? Lu Chongshan coughed lightly and regained his solemn expression. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm doing this for Xiao Bao's physical and mental health. Besides, it's not a big deal to have that woman accompany Xiao Bao. I'll naturally send someone to watch over her. Lu Chongshan then made a call to his butler, Xing Wu. Master, what are your orders? Go and make a call now. Ask that woman to come and accompany Xiao Bao. Lu Chongshan thought for a moment, then said, just say that Xiao Bao is home alone. Later, Madam and I will find an excuse to leave, so that she can be alone with Xiao Bao. Master, what do you mean? Put more surveillance cameras in the house. Yes, I understand. Xing Wu accepted the order and left. Yang Rui frowned when she heard the conversation between her husband and the butler. Isn't that a little inappropriate? Lu Chongshan said carelessly, why not? I'd like to see what's different about her. Don't you also want to know whether that woman is sincere to Xiao Bao or not? Chapter 326. Yang Rui hesitated at first, but finally nodded for Xiao Bao's sake. Don't let Ting Xiao know, or he'll be angry again. I think he's been seduced by that woman. Let him go on a blind date as soon as the girl is selected. I don't believe that out of so many outstanding girls, none of them can compare to that woman. After leaving the company, Ningxi went straight back to her apartment. She was lying in bed reading the entertainment news when she suddenly received a strange call. She picked it up suspiciously. Hello. A serious male voice came from the other end of the line. Hello, is this Miss Ningxi? Yes, and you are? Ningxi was puzzled. I'm Mr. Lu's butler, Xing Wu. Mr. Lu and Mrs. Lu are busy today, so young master is alone at home. Miss Ning, do you have time to visit us? Ningxi sat up like a carp. Yes, I'm free. I'll be right there. After hanging up the phone, Ningxi immediately rummaged through almost all the clothes she had, but she didn't know which one to wear. She looked even more exaggerated than when she was meeting her boyfriend. In the end, she chose a set of clothes that both she and Xiao Bao liked. It was fashionable with just the right retro elements. Although the designer was not famous, Ningxi had always been his loyal fan. She usually wore clothes like this. She didn't care about the brands and only wore what she liked except for necessary occasions. When they arrived at the old house, a man in his 30s who looked like a butler led her into the main house. As soon as Ningxi entered the door, a soft little whirlwind immediately rushed over and crashed into her arms. Baby Ning, she immediately bent down and hugged the little bun. She wanted to kiss him as usual, but considering that there were outsiders present, she held back. The little bun hung his head in disappointment when Aunt Xiaoxi didn't kiss him for a long time. Aunt Xiaoxi didn't kiss him this time. Was it because he had done something wrong? Was it because she didn't like him anymore? Was it because there were other children she liked more? Miss Ning, I'm leaving. If you need anything, please ring the bell to call me. Ningxi nodded. Okay, thank you, Butler Xing. Xing Wu bowed and left. After Xing Wu left, Ningxi soon noticed that the little boy was unhappy. She laughed and scratched the little boy's nose. Then she kissed the little boy on both cheeks and said, Baby, Auntie misses you so much. The little bun's expression immediately brightened. She pursed her lips and blushed, and a flower seemed to bloom on the top of her head. Aunt Xiaoxi still likes me. Little Baozi thought for a while, and then seriously wrote a very complete sentence on the writing board for Ningxi. I also miss Aunt Xiaoxi very much. Ningxi's heart was filled with sweetness, but she saw that Xiao Bao quickly wrote another sentence, Daddy too. Ah! Ningxi didn't expect that Xiao Bao would write such a sentence. She couldn't help but be stunned, and her cheeks were slightly hot. Xiaobao actually wrote this sentence. This was a little illogical, wasn't it? In the past, Xiaobao would never mention anyone else when he chatted with her. Good boy Tilda. Although Ningxi was suspicious, she didn't think too much about it. She touched the little bun's head and led him to sit on the sofa. At the same time, in the surveillance room in the backyard, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui were sitting in front of the big monitor screen, staring at the monitor screen. Chapter 327. At the same time, in the surveillance room in the backyard, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui were sitting in front of the monitor, staring intently at the screen. When she saw the warm interaction between Ningxi and Xiaobao, and the two sentences that Xiaobao had written, Yang Rui's tense expression softened. She smiled helplessly and said, "It must have been Tingxiao who taught her." Lu Chongshan harumphed and didn't say a word. He continued to stare at the monitor, not only to watch her, but most importantly, he had to know why this woman could make Xiaobao so obedient. However, Lu Chongshan was destined to be disappointed. Because in reality, Ningxi and Xiaobao's interaction couldn't be any simpler. In other words, the two of them did their own things. Xiaobao was a child who knew how to be alone. He only needed Ningxi to be by his side, and that was enough. Hence, as usual, Xiaobao was playing Sudoku with relish, while Ningxi was curled up on the sofa reading the entertainment news. She stroked Xiaobao's head as if she was stroking a kitten. Occasionally, she would be too engrossed in the news and forget to pat him. Xiaobao would raise his head and stare at her, begging for a pat. Ningxi knew and quickly gave him a tiger pat. In front of the monitor, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui watched for a long time but couldn't figure out what was going on. The two of them were entertaining themselves and didn't interact much. But the warmth and intimacy that permeated between the adult and the child flowed continuously through the screen. Yang Rui sighed and said, "Although this girl didn't do anything, I feel that whenever Xiaobao is by her side, he is especially lively, just like an ordinary child." Lu Chongshan wasn't blind. He could naturally tell, but he couldn't admit it. He said in a low voice, "What's the rush? Keep watching. I don't believe that she can't find any loopholes. Xiaobao likes her so much, it must be because she is submissive to Xiaobao and pleases him. You must know that her pampering of Xiaobao is like honey coated with arsenic. She definitely can't let it go on like this. I must let Tingxiao see for himself what kind of woman he has chosen." After watching the news for a while, Ningxi put down her phone. She rested her chin on her hand and stared at Xiaobao without blinking. Compared to the phone, the buns were much better looking. Feeling Aunt Xiao's gaze, little bun looked up suspiciously and blinked. An idea flashed through Ningxi's mind. "Baby, don't play with this. Let me teach you something fun." Little Baozi nodded obediently and allowed Ningxi to pull her into the courtyard. In front of the monitor, Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui stood up nervously to see what Ningxi was going to do. Lu Chongshan's face darkened. "Just you wait, the fox's tail is about to be revealed." Yang Rui nodded and stared at the monitor nervously. Ningxi led Xiaobao to an empty grassland in the courtyard and said with satisfaction, "Let's do it here." Then, Ningxi leaned over and said softly to little Bun, "Baby, you're too quiet and don't exercise much. It's not good for your health. Of course, you can't exercise too much either. It's not suitable for your small body. So, Auntie will teach you a set of 5 animal frolics. Do you want to learn?" Chapter 328. Although Xiaobao did not fully understand, he nodded without hesitation. Ningxi cleared her throat and began to teach. The 5 animal frolics is divided into bear, tiger, deer, ape, and bird frolics. Each frolics has a different effect. Let's learn them one by one. First is the bear frolics. The biggest effect of this set is to regulate the spleen and stomach. In the surveillance room, Lu Chongshan was stunned when he saw this. His eyes lit up. This little girl actually knows about the 5 animal frolics. 5 animal frolics? Isn't that the set of exercises you always want to teach Xiaobao? Yang Rui asked. Lu Chongshan nodded and then said unhappily, "Even if that little girl really knows how to do it, it's definitely just for show. Don't lead Xiaobao astray. This set of 5 animal frolics was passed down by Hua Tuor, the miracle doctor. Of course it's excellent, but the movements must be on point for it to be effective. I wanted to teach Xiaobao before, but unfortunately, Xiaobao ignored him. How could he possibly learn from him? Yang Rui was a little worried and said nervously, "Why don't we get someone to interrupt her? It would be terrible if we were to be led astray by this girl pretending to understand." Lu Chongshan nodded. "I'll get Xing Wu over right now." Then, he picked up the communicator and pressed the call button. "Hello, Xing Wu, Master, I'm here. What can I do for you?" "You go now." Lu Chongshan was halfway through his sentence when he suddenly stopped talking. His eyes fell on the monitor in surprise. "Master! Master!" Lu Chongshan was still staring at the monitor and only snapped out of it after a long time. "It's fine now." Then, he cut off the communicator. "What's wrong?" Yang Rui was puzzled. Lu Chongshan coughed softly and looked a little unnatural. "Let her teach." Yang Rui was stunned. Then, she asked in surprise, "You mean, she's a good teacher?" Lu Chongshan looked at the girl's movements on the monitor and answered vaguely, "It's all right." Yang Rui glared at her husband. "What do you mean by all right? It's clearly not bad, right? Otherwise, with her husband's personality, he would never let her teach Xiaobao even if there was a slight flaw." In the monitor, she separated the movements and taught Xiaobao in detail. "Have you learned it?" Xiaobao nodded. "All right. Let's do it from the beginning to the end." Xiaobao began to do the same thing. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. Because he was small, when he made those animal movements, he looked very cute. Ningxi applauded happily and praised, "Baby little Bao is so awesome. He learned it so quickly. Try to practice it every day from now on, okay?" Xiaobao's eyes sparkled when he was praised, and he nodded vigorously in agreement. "Darling, you're so obedient." Yang Rui looked at her husband and asked, "What do you think?" Deep in thought for a long time, Lu Chongshan said gloomily, "Don't forget that she is an actress. It's very easy for her to act in front of us. Maybe she knew that we would be watching her in secret. She might have prepared all these in advance." Yang Rui nodded. "Then let's continue observing and see, shall we?" Time passed bit by bit, and soon it was evening. Ningxi and Xiaobao held hands as they sat on the swing and watched the setting sun in the sky. There was something that Ningxi had been thinking about for a long time. Seeing that she was about to leave, she finally could not help but say to Xiaobao, "Baby little Bao, Auntie has something to discuss with you." Chapter 329. Lu Chongshan had been staring at the screen for the whole afternoon and felt a little dizzy. Hearing Ningxi's words, he suddenly woke up. It was finally coming. "Guess what she wants to discuss with Xiaobao?" Lu Chongshan asked his wife. Yang Rui frowned and thought for a while. "She already knows what Xiaobao means to us and that we should listen to him. Does she want Xiaobao to put in a good word for her in front of us?" Lu Chongshan sneered. "More than that. I'm afraid she wants Xiaobao to quarrel with us and marry into the Lu family." Yang Rui frowned. The more she thought about it, the more she thought it was possible. That's too much. How can she take advantage of a child? Lu Chongshan's expression was solemn. "Now you know what the consequences are for the Lu family if we allow a woman with a bad character to marry into the Lu family. It's not a big deal that we can't have peace at home. What's more, we will be in chaos outside. That's a big deal." Yang Rui nodded. "You're right. Tingxiao has been working so hard outside. If there's a mess at home, he will be distracted." In the yard, under the setting sun, Xiaobao raised his little head and looked at Aunt Xiaoxi doubtfully. Ningxi considered her words, looked at Xiaobao seriously and said softly, "Xiaobao, I know you like Aunt Xiaoxi and Aunt Xiaoxi likes you very much. Last time, you told me that if you love someone, you should give that person freedom. Now, Aunt Xiaoxi also wants to tell you that no one can be your everything in life. In this world, there were too many beautiful things waiting to be discovered, waiting to be experienced, waiting to be loved. I like you very much, very much, very much, so I also hope that you can also grow up freely and happily." Ningxi finally came to the point. So, Aunt Xiaoxi wants you to promise me one thing. In front of the monitor, under the tense and cold gaze of the two elders, Ningxi looked at Xiaobao and said, Xiaobao, promise me that you will go to school, okay? Lu Chongshan, Yang Ruyi, Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi exchanged glances and did not speak for a long time. After a long time, the two of them finally recovered from this completely unexpected development and stared at the monitor even more nervously. What would Little Treasure's answer be? For the first time, Xiaobao didn't immediately nod in response to Ningxi's request. At this moment, Ningxi was also very nervous. She wasn't sure if Xiaobao would agree to her request. 10 seconds passed, 30 seconds passed, 1 minute passed. Ningxi didn't dare to rush him and could only wait silently. The more she waited, the more anxious she became. What she didn't know was that there were two people who were even more anxious than she was. In the end, Ningxi couldn't bear it any longer. She put her palms together and asked pitifully, Darling little Bao, okay? Xiao Bao sighed helplessly like a little adult, and then began to write on the writing board. Ningxi and the two elders in the surveillance room watched nervously. A moment later, Xiao Bao raised the writing board. Xiao Bao doesn't want to go to school. Ningxi's eyes dimmed and she lowered her head in disappointment. Sure enough, it didn't work, but soon, Xiao Bao began to write again and then raised the writing board for the second time. But Aunt Xiaoxi likes it, so Xiao Bao agrees. Ningxi stared at the line of words and finally came to herself after a long time. Xiao Bao, you agree. You really agree. And she was so touched by his promise. No wonder he was the son of the devil. Chapter 330. At this moment, Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi, who were in front of the monitor, were completely stunned. They didn't know how to describe their current feelings. Xiaobao had agreed. Xiaobao had agreed to go to school. This meant that Xiaobao had taken the most important step towards becoming a normal child. Yang Ruyi was indescribably excited. Chongshan, did you see that? Xiaobao has agreed to go to school. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Our baby has agreed to go to school. Lu Chongshan let out a long sigh. Our whole family has been trying to persuade him for so long. We've used all kinds of methods, soft and hard, but it was still useless against a few words from her. Yang Ruyi sighed. I used to think that Jing Li was exaggerating, but it seems that Xiaobao is really obedient. Lu Chongshan was even more worried after his initial joy. It seems that this woman is not simple. And she's very calm. I underestimated her too much before. Have you noticed that everything she's doing now, on the surface, seems to be for our Xiaobao's good? Yang Ruyi chimed in. I didn't understand it before, but now I understand why Jing Li and Xiaobao like her so much, and why Ting Xiao is so infatuated with her. Lu Chongshan shook his head. Ting Xiao is still too young. Suddenly, a nervous voice came from the other end of the communicator. Master. Young master is back. Lu Chongshan frowned. So what if he's back? Why are you panicking? Just as Lu Chongshan was about to switch to the surveillance camera to see where Lu Tingxiao was, the screen in front of him turned black the next second. Everything disappeared in front of him. That brat. Lu Chongshan was furious. I told you I wouldn't be able to hide it from him. In the backyard, Ningxi was so happy that she was about to explode after Xiaobao had agreed to go to school. Unfortunately, at this moment, there was no one to share this joyous feeling with. However, at this moment, she saw a familiar figure walking towards her step by step from the corner of her eye, Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi's first reaction was to run over, but because she was in such a hurry, she almost knocked into the man. She only managed to stabilize herself when the man held her shoulders. She said excitedly, Lu Tingxiao. Xiaobao has agreed to go to school. Yes. Looking at the girl's flushed face, Lu Tingxiao's eyes were filled with tenderness. He gently stroked the girl's hair. Thank you for your hard work. The man's touch brought Ningxi back to her senses. She hurriedly stood up straight and took a step back. She scratched her head awkwardly and said, I didn't do anything. I just tried to persuade him. Fuck. What was going on? Why did she suddenly throw herself at Lu Tingxiao uncontrollably like a bird returning to the forest? Was she the one with such a young girl? Well, since you're back, I'll take my leave first. Just as he was about to run away as usual, he suddenly thought of something. His expression changed, and he bent over to discuss with Little Bun. Little Bao, can I speak to your father alone? Xiao Bao looked at Aunt Xiaoxi and then at Papa. He was unhappy that they were going to whisper without him, but in the end, he nodded and agreed. Ningxi cuddled with Little Bun for quite a while. After saying goodbye, she immediately turned to Lu Tingxiao and said seriously, President Lu, I have something very important to tell you. Chapter 331. What's the matter? Lu Tingxiao's eyes were like a warm tide, soothing Ningxi's uneasiness at this moment. Ningxi calmed down a little. She thought about her words and said, You should be careful these days. You'd better take a few bodyguards with you when you go out. It's not too much to take a dozen. Ever since she suddenly received a call outside the villa that day, she had been very uneasy. She knew that with Lu Tingxiao's ability, that guy couldn't possibly touch him, but she was still worried. She almost wished that she could stay by his side and protect him 24/7. Lu Tingxiao narrowed his eyes and a cold gleam flashed across his eyes. But he soon calmed down and took a step towards Ningxi unhurriedly. Ningxi subconsciously stepped back until her back was against the wall covered with vines. Lu Tingxiao put one hand on the wall behind her and suddenly asked, Is this called Stonehenge? Ningxi blinked. Yes, and it was very standard. But why did the topic suddenly change in such a strange direction? I learned it after you said you liked it last time, Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi laughed. Haha, she really wanted to tell the devil that she didn't need to learn it. And when did she say she liked it? She said girls couldn't stand it, okay? Well, she couldn't stand it now. Ningxi was a little worried that Lu Tingxiao would be displeased. After all, she seemed to be questioning his ability and worried that she would cause him trouble. However, Lu Tingxiao kept his flirting posture, leaned over and asked her in a low voice, Ningxi, are you worried about me? Ningxi was dumbfounded. Yes. After all, you are my boss. I see. But I'm still very happy. Lu Tingxiao smiled with satisfaction and then said, Then I'll text you every day to tell you I'm safe, okay? Of course. Ningxi felt something was wrong after saying that, but she couldn't figure out what it was. Lu Tingxiao looked satisfied, straightened up and left the invasive range. I wanted to ask you to stay for dinner, but I guess you won't feel comfortable here, so I won't keep you. It's okay. I'm leaving. By Tilda, it was not until she got home that Ningxi realized what was wrong. As soon as she got home, Lu Tingxiao sent her a text. Are you home? I'm eating with Xiaobao. Everything is normal. Don't worry. Holy shit. She had only told him to be careful. Why did it turn into a pattern of a husband reporting to his wife every day? She really wanted to kneel before the Devil King. In the future, she would never dare to say that she knew how to pick up girls. He no longer dared to say that he wanted to teach him how to pick up girls. In front of the great Demon King, she was simply a piece of trash. However, this was not the end. Soon after, Lu Tingxiao sent another message. Bring Xiaobao to school in a few days. This is Xiaobao's first time going to school. I hope you can come. Ningxi, no matter what, he couldn't type out the word of rejection in his hand. Okay. After typing this word, Ningxi smashed her head on the pillow. It's over. She had clearly dug a hole for herself. However, the more she thought about it, the more she felt that something was amiss. Coincidentally, she was free today, and the old mansion had invited her to accompany Xiaobao. Coincidentally, she had persuaded Xiaobao to go to school, and right after that, the devil had asked her to accompany Xiaobao to school. She guessed that she would be free when the time came. Everything had happened so naturally that it was unbelievably smooth. Was it really just a coincidence? Chapter 332. After resting for 2 days, Ningxi was full of energy and returned to the crew to continue working. She looked at the schedule for the next few days. Her main scenes had been completed, and most of them were reshoots of the scenes with Jiao Qingqing. She was already familiar with this part of the scenes, so she felt no pressure. When she arrived at the crew, it was not her turn yet. Xiao Dao came up to her as soon as she saw her. Sister Shi, you're here. I was going to text you to tell you not to come so early. Ningxi raised her eyebrows and joked, "What's wrong? The director is so nice, but he's giving me a holiday again." "No. Look over there." Xiao Dao whispered to her to look at Guan Xiaoqi and Fang Ya, who were filming in front of them. It's Guan Xiaoqi and Fang Ya. They've done countless takes in one scene, and they're even scarier than Jiao Qingqing. Guan Xiaoqi. Ningxi held her chin and thought for a moment. That's right, it's that new singer that our company is promoting. His singing is terrible, but there's nothing we can do about it. He's rich, and the money he's throwing at him is like flowing water. I heard that she insisted on acting at the beginning, but the company tested her basic skills and found that her acting skills were scarier than her singing, so they tried everything to persuade her to become a singer. At least singers can tune their voices in the later stages. In the end, so much money was thrown at her, but she only became a singer for a few months. She said she wanted to quit, and now she's back to acting again. After Xiao Dao finished gossiping, she reminded Ningxi nervously, "Although we're in the same company, we should stay away from this kind of person." Ningxi nodded and pondered. In fact, Guan Xiaoqi did help her in the apartment last time, although he didn't do it on purpose. However, she wouldn't act rashly before she got to know a person thoroughly. After knowing the situation, Ningxi didn't leave early. She sat down on the chair. She had a lot of scenes with Guan Xiaoqi, so it was necessary for her to know his level in advance. Not far away, Guan Xiaoqi and Fang Ya were still filming. In the film, Guan Xiaoqi played the role of Meng Chang'e's nemesis, concubine Xian, while Fang Ya played the role of another concubine of the fatuous monarch, concubine Shu. The two of them often fought with each other and had a lot of scenes together. Ningxi looked at them from afar. From the looks of it, Guan Xiaoqi was the one who was in trouble, and Guo Qixing seemed to be on the verge of breaking down. "Guan Xiaoqi, you are a favored concubine. A beloved concubine. She had to be enchanting. You have to be charming. Don't move like a wooden block. And your lines. We don't use dubbing for this movie. It's all recorded on the spot. How can you say your lines without any ups and downs like you're reading a book? Expression. Where's your expression?" Xiao Dao handed a bag of melon seeds to Ningxi. "Sister Shi, you see it now. I didn't exaggerate, right? His acting skills were terrible. Sai, your cooperation with Mr. Jiang was so good and smooth. Originally, everyone thought that they could finish filming ahead of time, but who knew that Guan Xiaoqi would pop up halfway through? He's the king of NG." Ningxi did not speak. Objectively speaking, it was not a matter of good or bad acting skills. Because Guan Xiaoqi had no acting skills at all. She was a blank piece of paper. Usually, in this kind of situation, the person acting with her was very important. To make matters worse, Fang Ya, who was acting with her, had a grudge against her. Moreover, Fang Ya's acting skills were average. It would be strange if Guan Xiaoqi could perform well with her. Chapter 333. Finally, Guo Qixing couldn't take it anymore. He shouted, "Let's take a break for 10 minutes. No, 20 minutes. Guan Xiaoqi, you need to adjust yourself." Ningxi pondered. 20 minutes, to Guan Xiaoqi, this was of no use. If this went on, Guan Xiaoqi would only NG until he died. Guo Qixing must have known this. Ningxi looked in Guo Qixing's direction. Sure enough, she saw him sneaking to the side to make a call, probably to ask for help. Xiao Dao shook her head as she munched on melon seeds. "Director Guo probably wants our company to send someone else, but that's impossible. Guan Xiaoqi's background is too deep. He can't be replaced." Sure enough, in less than 5 minutes, Guo Qixing came out of the corner with a dark face. His expression showed that he had failed to ask for help. Guo Qixing walked straight to Ningxi and said apologetically, "Ningxi, they're delayed. You might have to wait a little longer." Ningxi smiled and said casually, "It's okay, director. You guys go ahead. Don't worry about me." While Ningxi was talking to the director, Guan Xiaoqi and Fang Ya had already started arguing. Fang Ya was gloating to the person next to her. "Ha ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Someone told me at first that her acting skills were top-notch, But it turns out that she's only this good. Guan Xiaoqi kept a straight face and didn't say anything. Fang Ya was even more pleased that she didn't say anything. So what if you're rich? With your acting skills, even a mountain of gold and silver from your family can't do it. What a waste. Guan Xiaoqi didn't have much patience to begin with. When he heard this, he slammed the table and stood up. I'm willing to waste it, I'm happy. It's none of your business. Do you think your family has money to waste like this? You're just saying the grapes are sour. You're so jealous that your eyes are red. Look at your shabby face. You. Fang Ya was so angry that she almost vomited blood. But at the same time, Guan Xiaoqi's words not only angered Fang Ya, but also the other actors in the crew who were from ordinary families. What a bunch of haters, but it wasn't surprising. She had been spoiled since she was a child. How could she stand being bullied like this? It was impossible for her to consider other people's feelings. Seeing that the situation was getting more and more serious, Guo Qisheng hurriedly rushed over to mediate, but he was badly battered. Xiao Dao was also indignant. Damn, Guan Xiaoqi's words are too infuriating. You can't blame everyone for hating her. Ning, she didn't say anything. She patted Xiao Dao's shoulder and said, I'm going to the bathroom. Oh, okay. By the way, Sister Shi, do you want to eat anything? I'll buy it for you. I reckon we'll have to wait for quite a while. Ning, she waved her hand. No, thank you. Just buy something you like, Tilda. Ning, she came out of the bathroom and was walking back when she suddenly caught a glimpse of a person squatting under a tree root not far away. Guan Xiaoqi? Why is she squatting there? Ning, she stood there suspiciously for a while. Guan Xiaoqi held the script in her hand and kept muttering to herself. She looked very serious, not at all like the arrogant and conceited person she was in front of everyone. Ning, she stood there and watched for a long time. Guan Xiaoqi didn't notice anyone nearby, so he practiced again and again. Chapter 334. 20 minutes passed quickly. Ning, she returned to the rest area. The shooting of Guan Xiaoqi and Fang Ya continued, and the result was, without a doubt, appalling. Ning, she calmly walked up to the director, who was about to hit the camera with his head. Director, I have something to discuss with you. Guo Qisheng turned his head tiredly. Oh, Ning Shi, what's the matter? Go ahead. Ning Shi thought for a while and then asked, well, Director, I have something urgent to deal with later. I really can't wait any longer. Can you adjust the scene between me and Guan Xiaoqi to the beginning? Well. Guo Qisheng looked embarrassed. Hey, you've seen Guan Xiaoqi's acting skills. Your scene with her is even more difficult. It's okay, Director. Just try it. Maybe she's just stuck in this plot. She'll be fine after changing the plot. Ning, she comforted him. How is that possible? Guo Qisheng shook his head with a wry smile. Forget it. It's the same no matter what she does. Just do as you say. If it doesn't work this time, you don't have to waste your time with her. Go do your own thing. Ning, she hurriedly thanked him. Thank you, Director. Guo Qisheng coughed lightly and interrupted Guan Xiaoqi. Guan Xiaoqi, wait a minute. Fang Ya, go and have a rest. Ning, she has something urgent to deal with later. Let's shoot her scene in advance. Fang Ya's eyes lit up. Okay, I have no problem with that. Guan Xiaoqi froze when he heard what the director said. He clenched his fists tightly by his sides. Of course, Fang Ya had no problem with that. When she returned to the rest area, she said excitedly to the people next to her, ha ha ha, Guan Xiaoqi is doomed. Do you know what scene she and Ning Shi are going to shoot next? Could it be the scene where Jiao Qingqing took more than 30 takes? Yes, that's the one. Oh my god. Guan Xiaoqi is definitely going to die. At this moment, Guan Xiaoqi's two assistants, 11 and 12, were anxious. Miss, let me discuss it with the director and Ning Shi. This scene is too difficult. You can't do it. Yes, when Jiao Qingqing acted with Ning Shi, she did not stop from the beginning to the end. Shut up. Who said I can't do it? Guan Xiaoqi clenched his fists and scolded them fiercely. Don't tell anyone. This was it. Am I not even comparable to Enchanting? The two little assistants looked at each other and were speechless. They thought that if you were half as good as Enchanting, they would be laughing even in their dreams. Hey, Ningxi is in the same company. Why is she behaving like this? Wasn't it just a little longer? You know how difficult this scene is. So what if we're in the same company? We don't have much of a relationship. Our miss has almost offended everyone in the company, okay? In a place like the entertainment industry, everyone sweeps the snow in front of their own door. Who cares about the frost on other people's roof? A moment later, the filming for the next scene was ready. Ningxi and Guan Xiaoqi took their places. Ningxi sat on the luxurious wooden chair, while Guan Xiaoqi fell to the ground in a mess. Looking at the way Ningxi looked down at him, Guan Xiaoqi felt a little humiliated. This time, Guo Qixing didn't bother to give them any advice. He waved his hand and said, "Let's start." Chapter 335. Setting, The Cold Palace. Characters, Meng Chang'e, concubine Xian. In the dilapidated palace, Ningxi sat on the large chair with contempt in her eyes while Guan Xiaoqi looked angry and humiliated. Guo Qixing raised his eyebrows. What? Guan Xiaoqi's expression was not bad. Then Ningxi looked at her as if she were a dead person. Concubine Xian, do you know why I hate you so much? Why do I have to kill you? After Ningxi finished her lines, Guo Qixing pinched between his eyebrows. He was ready for Guan Xiaoqi's first NG. The cameraman was also absent-mindedly fiddling with the equipment. The other staff and artists didn't like Guan Xiaoqi's arrogance, so they were all waiting to see a good show. Bitch. You are jealous of me. Jealous of the emperor's love for me. You're jealous that I'm favored. Guan Xiaoqi angrily recited his lines, his eyes even slightly red. Damn it. Fang Yue and all these people were just jealous of her. They were just jealous of her. Guan Xiaoqi's voice trailed off, and everyone present was stunned. What? She had said the lines accurately, and her expression and tone were very good. She must be lucky. After saying the lines, even Guan Xiaoqi herself was stunned. But before she could be distracted, Ningxi immediately said the next line. Oh, I am jealous. Jealous of your favor from that old man? Guan Xiaoqi followed Ningxi's words and naturally acted out the next line. She looked incredulous. Concubine de, you. Are you crazy? I will tell the emperor. I will tell the emperor that you insulted. Ningxi immediately stopped Guan Xiaoqi with a look and then said gloomily, Concubine Liang, do you know who I am? Do you still remember the name? Meng Chang'e. Seeing this, everyone held their breath and stared. The atmosphere at the scene was extremely tense. The crowd lowered their voices and whispered in disbelief. Guan Xiaoqi is so lucky. Why hasn't she taken a NG yet? Fang Yue crossed her arms and sneered. Haha, she is about to take her NG. Just wait and see. That's right. Jiao Qingqing took this line 33 times in a row. Under Ningxi's gloomy eyes, Guan Xiaoqi looked dull and frightened. You are Meng Chang'e. How could you be Meng Chang'e? Meng Chang'e was clearly dead. This was impossible. Impossible. Ningxi suddenly approached. Zhao Wanru. If you don't die, how would I dare to die? Even if I die, I will crawl out of hell. I'll drag you down with me. Ah. Don't come any closer. Don't come any closer. Guan Xiaoqi screamed in fear. Zhong Rui, director, cut, crack. In the end, it was the assistant director who reminded him that the director came back to his senses and hurriedly shouted, cut. This scene, he actually passed it. He passed it with just one line. The moment Guo Qixing shouted Ka, no one could react. After a long while, there was a heated discussion on the scene. Oh my God! Did the sun rise from the west? Guan Xiaoqi passed. And it was done in one go. This is too shocking. What's wrong with him? Fang Yue's face was livid. She was the first to stand up and protest. How is this possible? Director, how could you let her pass it? She didn't act well at all. Her expression and movements were too exaggerated. Chapter 336. Guo Qisheng glanced at Fang Yue impatiently. Xiao Qi is not a professional like you. It's good enough that he performed so well. Then he looked at Fang Yue discontentedly. Pay more attention when you're acting with Xiaoxi. She can only do that when you're into the role, understand? Director, it's her fault. Fang Yue was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Was it her fault that Guan Xiaoqi's acting was bad? At this time, the others also began to change their attitude. Director, you're right. I thought it was all Guan Xiaoqi's fault, but now I think Fang Yue is also a problem. Of course. Otherwise, how could Guan Xiaoqi pass the scene as soon as he acted with Ningxi? Although Guan Xiaoqi's acting was bad, Fang Yue's acting was also bad. The pot calling the kettle black. After the scene, Guan Xiaoqi almost floated back to the rest area. His two assistants, one fanning and the other bringing water, greeted him happily. Miss, you were amazing. Yes, you passed in one take. You acted so well. Guan Xiaoqi raised his chin and looked proud. I told you that my acting was good. I just couldn't act well because I was sick of Fang Yue's face. Do you believe me now? Yes, I believe you. Miss, you're the best. It's all Fang Yue's fault. Ningxi glanced at Guan Xiaoqi and then walked over to Guo Qisheng. Director, what do you think of this scene? Is there a problem? No problem. Very good. Guo Qisheng smiled. Ningxi paused and then said casually, Director, I think Guan Xiaoqi is in a good state now. Would it be better to shoot the next scene? Well, you're right. I'll ask them to start the next scene right now. By the way, if you have something urgent to do, go ahead. Okay, thank you, Director. Ningxi nodded and left. Xiao Dao followed Ningxi suspiciously. Sister Shi, what's wrong with Guan Xiaoqi? He passed in one take. He must be just lucky, right? Ningxi said, probably. I knew it. Sister Shi, is there something urgent? Do you need my help? No need, you can get off work now. Okay, thank you. Sister Shi thought she would have to work overtime today, but she didn't expect that she could get off work early in the end. Xiao Dao immediately ran away happily. Ningxi had removed her makeup and changed her clothes. She was walking in the corridor leading to the hotel. At this moment, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and hooked onto her shoulder. Tut, Ning Xiaoxi, not bad. You saved the damsel in distress. Ningxi threw Jiang Mui's hand away and patted the non-existent dust on her shoulder. What? Do you have a problem with that? Jiang Mui didn't care and put his paw over again. I thought you didn't like to meddle in other people's business. Why are you helping that annoying Guan Xiaoqi this time? Ningxi rubbed her chin. Guan Xiaoqi helped me once, so I'm just returning the favor. I don't like owing favors. Moreover, let's not talk about this lady's character and conduct for now, but I can tell that she really likes to act. She always had a good impression of people who really liked and loved acting. Jiang Mui was speechless. You really have tender feelings for the fairer sex. Why do you care? Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. You don't have a scene today, do you? What are you doing here? Chapter 337. Jiang Mui said excitedly, anyway, you don't have much work to do. Let's go to the bar tonight. Ningxi raised a finger and shook it. I'm sorry. Although I'm going to the bar tonight to relax, I'm going alone. I won't take you. Jiang Mui was furious. Shit. Why won't you take me? Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. You think we didn't have enough fun last time, right? Wasn't that an accident? Besides, you accepted the endorsement for nothing because of that. Jiang Mui said matter-of-factly. Who can guarantee that I'll be so lucky every time? Superstar Jiang, please do me a favor and let me go. I don't want to trouble Sister Gigi anymore. An hour later, in Carlos Bar. Carlos Bar had a special feature. Almost all the people at the bottom of society, especially men, came here. In the outside world, the most common saying about Carlos Bar was, poor people and dogs are not allowed in. What attracted the first and second generations of the rich were naturally the women and socialites with superior looks, figures, and temperament. In addition to power and wealth, beauty was also the most effective pass here. Ningxi finally got rid of the sad Jiang Mui. When she arrived at the bar, it was almost full. So she found a corner and sat down. For Ningxi, the biggest advantage of this bar was that she didn't need to disguise herself. Basically, no one here would know a little-known star like her. She could completely relax. As soon as Ningxi sat down, several middle-aged men who seemed to be looking for prey immediately turned their eyes to Ningxi. There was a trace of deep meaning in their eyes. Her looks and temperament are outstanding, but her clothes don't suit my taste. Well, she doesn't look like a socialite. If she's not a socialite, then she is. Let's wait and see. There are many girls in the bar tonight. Don't worry. These middle-aged men sat on the high-end leather sofas and made lazy and comfortable postures. Their voices were neither loud nor soft, so the people around them could hear them clearly. As soon as he finished speaking, the few youths beside him suddenly stood up together. The leading young man was dressed in an expensive shirt and trousers. He stared at Ningxi with a pair of narrow eyes and said, "Ho ho, this girl's temperament and appearance are both top grade. She doesn't suit your taste. Then we'll go for her." "As you wish, young Master Li." The middle-aged men on the sofa smiled and didn't care. Most of them were aiming for the real socialites. No matter how pretty a woman was, they were disdainful. Thus, the few young masters around young Master Li started to whistle frivolously in Ningxi's direction. "Hey, a beauty. Do you want to come and sit with us?" There was light music in the bar, which was not harsh and noisy. Ningxi naturally heard the voices of the childs. Ningxi's cold eyes casually swept over those childs and did not give any response. Ningxi had encountered this kind of thing a few times and was already used to it. She only came to Carlos Bar to relax, so she chose to ignore it. This bar was quite high class, so normally, no one would make things too ugly. Chapter 338. "Chick, Mr. Li asked you to come and sit here. Didn't you hear him?" Seeing that Ningxi didn't respond at all, the young men in front of Mr. Li all looked a little angry and their tone became a little harsh. To their surprise, the woman still didn't move even when they invited her again. She just drank her drink, as if she didn't hear them at all. "You stinky." Before the young man could finish his sentence, Mr. Li stretched out his hand, patted him on the shoulder, and said with a smile, "You can't get a girl like this. The process of conquering is a kind of enjoyment. Do you understand?" Hearing Mr. Li's words, the young man smiled and said, "You're right. I was too impatient. We can't deal with such a girl. Mr. Li, you have to do it yourself. We'll watch and learn from the side. We'll never embarrass Mr. Li in the future." Mr. Li nodded with satisfaction and said in a senior's tone, "You can't rush to get a girl like her. Let's take it slowly." After that, he looked at Ningxi meaningfully and then returned to the VIP seat with the young men. Seeing that the young men didn't continue to talk, Ningxi didn't pay attention to them anymore. She drank her drink and listened to soothing music leisurely. This kind of extreme relaxation inadvertently revealed laziness, which added a bit of a seductive flavor to it. While waiting for the order, Ningxi logged in her Weibo. She found that her Weibo hadn't been updated for a long time. Since the filming was about to be finished, it was good to stir up some popularity. So she thought for a while and wrote a post. "Listening to the wind and rain in the night, the iron horse and the glacier come to my dream, counting down to the completion of the filming." Soon, the number of comments and likes began to soar, and many crew members also reposted it. Jiang Mui reposted it and added a sentence, 10 years of life and death. "I don't think about it, but I will never forget it." It was just in line with the tragic and touching feelings between Meng Chang'e and Sun Huanqing. As soon as Jiang Mui reposted it, the fans on the internet immediately went crazy and began to discuss the super popular couple Meng Chang'e and Sun Huanqing. At the same time, in the private room on the top floor of Carlos Bar, Lu Tingxiao was drinking by himself. At this time, the phone on the table vibrated with a ding sound. He clicked on it and saw the latest news popping up on Weibo. It was the Weibo post Ning Shi had just posted. He set up a special attention setting for Ning Shi and installed a small program in his phone. As long as Ning Shi updated, it would automatically vibrate and ring to alert him. Lu Jingli was speechless when he saw this from the corner of his eyes. Fuck. Brother, that's enough. In order to see the other party's movements in time, he had specially made a small program. I really can't understand the romance of you science guys. Lu Tingxiao ignored his brother and kept looking at Ning Shi's Weibo. It's just a short sentence. Don't tell me you can see anything from it. Lu Jingli mumbled softly. Then, his brother's slender fingers pressed a few times, then he wrote a text message and sent it to Ning Shi. Lu Jingli unceremoniously leaned over to take a peek. The next second, when he saw the content clearly, he covered his eyes and fell back into his seat, rolling on the ground. Holy shit. My dog eyes. My titanium dog eyes. I shouldn't have peeked. He was simply looking for a beating. He thought that since his brother was in a lovelorn state, he wouldn't be abused. He never thought that he would be abused even more. Chapter 339. Soon, a new message popped up on Ning Shi's cell phone. It was from Lu Tingxiao. Ning Shi took a sip of the cocktail that the waiter had just served. She thought that Lu Tingxiao was just making a routine report about his safety, so she clicked on it. The message read, listening to the wind and rain in the dark. You are the iron horse and the glacier. Phut. Ning Shi spat out the wine in her mouth. Her face was burning. Oh my god. The devil was so cruel that she couldn't look at him directly. Ever since the devil said, one day, you'll find that cabbage tastes better than carrots, she had been thinking about it for a long time after she got home, but she couldn't figure out what the devil's next plan was. At this moment, she finally figured it out. The devil was obviously going to use a big trick on her, the honey trap. Ning Shi was in the midst of being teased, when she suddenly saw something flying straight in her direction. Her eyes sharpened, and she immediately blocked it with the tray on the table. The next second, with a bang, the wine bottle that almost hit her head fell to the ground, making an ear-piercing sound. Before Ning Shi could go to the other party, they came to her first. A socialite in a tight red sequined dress walked up to her, surrounded by a group of people. She looked down at her and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why, but the wine bottle suddenly flew out. It didn't hit you, did it?" Ning Shi glanced at them coldly and ignored them. She didn't like to cause trouble, but she wasn't afraid of it. It was fine if it didn't hit her, but if it did hurt her, she didn't mind teaching them a lesson. Anyway, no one knew her in this place, so she could do whatever she wanted. It's okay. Ning Shi stood up. She didn't want to have any contact with these people, so she was about to leave and find a quiet seat. Seeing this, the socialite secretly winked at the girls in front of her. The girls around the socialite immediately understood and stepped forward to block Ning Shi's way. Don't. That wine bottle almost hit you. We feel bad. We must make it up to you. That's right. We were careless before. If we just let it go like this, we would feel really guilty. The girls echoed each other as if they really felt guilty in their hearts, but the naked disdain, contempt in their eyes were not concealed at all. At this moment, the music in the bar became even softer. Many eyes fell on them, most of them staring at Ning Shi as if waiting to see her make a fool of herself. That girl is a genuine socialite. Although her looks are ordinary, her family background is not ordinary. How did that chick offend her? Ha ha ha, do you even need to ask? That chick must have hooked up with her man. I know this socialite. She's the eldest daughter of the Wang family, Wang Ruolan. She loves to get jealous. Hook up? It can't be. I saw that chick didn't leave her seat. This is Carlos Bar. You only need to look at someone a few times to hook up with them. Have you ever heard of flirting? Don't be so vulgar. Some of the well-dressed men and women in the surroundings were discussing among themselves. Things like this happened almost every night in Carlos Bar. Others had seen it many times, so they naturally wouldn't make a fuss. They just watched the fun. Ning Shi glanced at the girls and said expressionlessly, "You don't have to compensate me. Your wine bottle didn't hit me." Chapter 340. How can we do that? Even if we agree, Sister Lan won't agree, right? One of the girls looked at the socialite next to her. As she spoke, the socialite walked forward and stared at Ningxi with a sneer. It's not easy for you to come to Carlos Bar in the middle of the night. You must have spent quite a lot of money to buy this outfit. I can't let you return empty-handed. This is your reward. No, compensation. After saying that, the socialite opened her bag and took out half a bundle of dazzling banknotes. She threw them at Ningxi's feet. Is 5,000 enough? Sister Lan, you're really too generous. Just now, even if it hit her directly, 5,000 yuan would have been enough. Yes, our Sister Lan is so generous. It's enough for her to sell her body once. The girls sneered and sneered. In the bar, this scene was really shocking. More and more people gathered around. Young Master Li smiled and continued to drink unhurriedly. It seemed that he was waiting for the best time to make a move. At this time, Ningxi frowned. This woman was not here to apologize. She was obviously here to cause trouble. What? Is this not enough? You sell your body. If you were fucked by those old men, this would be the most you would get, right? The socialite stared at Ningxi with disgust. Before Ningxi could say anything, another stack of notes fell at her feet with a bang. This is 10,000. Plus the 5,000 just now, is 15,000 enough? The socialite sneered. Oh, Sister Lan, this is too much. I think 3,000 is enough. A woman like her will definitely try to extort more from someone like you. Sister Lan is so kind. Let's add 10,000 and make it 25,000. 25,000? I like that number. The socialite smiled coldly and threw another stack of banknotes at Ningxi. Ningxi raised her eyebrows and looked at the woman in front of her. She looked at her as if she was looking at a fool. This kind of person was rich and idle. She wanted to find a sense of existence. It was a pity that she didn't have any sense of existence in front of her. She was too stupid. She didn't even have the interest to abuse her because there was no pleasure in it. Beauty, please accept this money. Although $25,000 isn't much, it's better than working at night. At this time, a muscular, blonde, and blue-eyed mixed-race man next to the socialite squatted down and picked up the money. He was about to hand it to Ningxi and gave her an ambiguous look. Thank you, but I don't think I need this compensation. Ningxi's voice was cold. At this moment, the socialite seemed to have been provoked by something. She suddenly cursed, I only compensated you out of kindness because I saw that you were pitiful, but you actually didn't know what was good for you and seduced my Chengyun. Just now, she ran over because her male companion kept looking at this bitch's direction. In the end, this bitch actually dared to seduce Chengyun in front of her. Did she think she was dead? Although Ningxi didn't want to deal with this kind of people, these people had been pestering her several times. She lost her patience no matter how good she was. She sneered and glanced at the mixed blood fresh meat as if she was looking at a piece of cheap pork. I'm seducing him? Nonsense. If it wasn't you who hooked up with him, could it be that our Chengyun hooked up with you? You're still looking. Haven't you seen a handsome man before? Is there a need to be so thirsty? TSK, you must have slept with too many old men. You've never seen such a handsome man, right? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.